Hello everyone, welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah Shir. We are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Vav. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Rosh Hashanah, Hilchos Shofar, and we'll be learning today Mirz Hashem, Daf Samach Vav Amud Aleph. We pick up on the bottom line of Samach Hey Amud Beis, Siman Tov Kuf Tzadik. We're on the bottom line in the midst of Siv Zayin. So yesterday, in the beginning of Siv Zayin, we discussed a case where the Baal Tekiah was blowing a Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah. And what happened was, he blew the first two blasts of the Shvarim, and then after blowing two blasts of the Shvarim, he actually started to blow a Trua. So he never completed the blowing of the Shvarim. The Shvarim is 3 blasts, he only blew 2. And then he began to blow the Trua. After he began to blow the Trua, he realized his mistake. So, the Mechaber told us, it depends when he realizes his mistake. If he realizes his mistake right when he starts to blow the Trua, but he did not blow a complete Trua, and the Mishnah Berurah explained that means that he only blew, let's say, 2 blasts of the Trua. He didn't blow 3 blasts of the Trua. Because if you remember, in the beginning of the Siman, we learned that there is one opinion that a Trua is only 3 blasts. So once you blow 3 blasts, according to that opinion, it's a complete Trua. So the Mechaber said, if he only blew less than 3 blasts of the Trua, so he didn't blow a complete Trua, then the Mechaber said, you know what he could do? He could stop the Trua, blow the 3rd blast of the Shvarim, now he has a complete Shvarim, and then continue with the Trua. However, if he blew a complete Trua, which means he blew at least 3 blasts of the Trua, then he doesn't lose the original Tekiah, but he does have to go back to the beginning of the Shvarim. And the Mishnah Berurah explained, what's the difference between these 2 cases? The Mishnah Berurah said, in the first case, where he blew 2 blasts of the Shvarim, and then he only started to blow the Trua. So, we look at it, we analyze what happened, and we say like this, the Baal Tekiah was blowing a Shvarim. Sometimes, when you're blowing, you get a little bit messed up. So the beginning of the Trua sounds like you just got messed up in the Shvarim. And you're worried about the sounds themselves? Look, he was trying to blow a Trua. And when you're blowing a Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah, the Trua actually belongs in this set. So we don't look at that beginning of the Trua as being a hefsek. Rather, instead, we look at it as if the Shvarim got messed up. So now you complete the Shvarim, and then you move on. However, in the second case of the Mechaber, where the person already blew a complete Trua, now we can't look at it and say that, he was blowing a Shvarim and it just got messed up. No, he blew a complete Trua. So if he blew a complete Trua, now he has to blow the Shvarim over again. But he still does not lose the original Tekiah, because even the complete Trua that he blew, again, the Trua belongs over here in this set. This set is a Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah. So the Trua is not a foreign sound. Those are the cases that we learned yesterday in Siv Zayin. Now we go on, bottom line of Samach Hey Amud Beis, new case. Aval, however, im eira b'tashat oy tarat. Let's say a mistake of this type happened in the Seder of Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah or in the Seder of Tekiah Trua Tekiah. What was exactly the mistake? Let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah Ois Chav Tes. Eira b'tashat. Let's say the mistake occurred in the Seder of Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah. Hainu, says the Chavetz Chaim, shehischil b'shvarim shever echad oy shtayim. The Baal Tekiah blew the Tekiah, then he blew either 1 shever or 2 blasts of the Shvarim, but he did not complete the Shvarim. V'achakach osa Trua, and now he started to blow a Trua. So the Baal Tekiah was supposed to blow Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah. He blew the Tekiah, he started the Shvarim, but he did not complete the Shvarim, and then he started to blow a Trua. In that case, so that's the case that we're dealing with. What's the halacha? Let's go back to the Mechaber. If a mistake of this nature happened in the Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah or in the Tekiah Trua Tekiah, where in the Tekiah Trua Tekiah he started blowing a Shvarim, then everything okay here? Yeah. Okay. Then says the Mechaber, Hifsid Gam Tekiah Rishayna. Now you lose the entire set. Now you even lose the Tekiah from the beginning of that set. So now let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah's Kalachav test. Let's read it from the beginning. Samachayim and Beis. Eira b'tashat. If the mistake occurred in the series of Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah, Hainu, what would that case be? Shehischil b'shvarim shevarechad oishtayim. He started to blow a shvarim, so he blew one or two blasts of the shvarim, but he did not complete the shvarim. V'achakach also trua, and then he blew a trua. Well, in that case, says the Chavetz Chaim, lo yamrina dehu b'chlal niskal. We're not going to look at that and say, it's as if the Baal Tekeh got confused in the shvarim. He was blowing a shvarim, and just the shvarim is not coming out right. V'chol shekain, and certainly im asa kol hashvarim. Certainly, if in the series of Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah, the Baal Tekeh blew a complete shvarim, v'achakach asa trua, and then he blew a trua after the shvarim, we can't overlook that trua and just discount the trua and say it's not a hefsek. Kevan shehu shaloime in yana, since now it's a foreign koil, since now it's a koil that does not belong in that series at all. Kilkel bazeh kol haseder. By blowing that trua, or even that partial trua, he ruins the entire series. So again, he blew a tekiah, he started to blow the shvarim, then he started to blow a trua. Now, we can't overlook that trua and say it's not a hefsek. What are we going to say? It's just he was blowing a shvarim and it's not working right, so instead it came out. No, it's a trua, and a trua doesn't belong here. This is the seder of Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah. So a trua is a foreign koil, it doesn't belong here at all, and therefore it's a hefsek. And since you are mafsik in the seder with a foreign koil, with a koil that doesn't belong here at all, you lose the entire seder. That means the set of three Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah. You lose the whole Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah, even the first Tekiah, and you have to go back to the Tekiah. Says the Chavetz Chaim weiter in the brackets, for hu adin, the same halacha applies. Im asa trua kaidam hashvarim. Let's say he's holding a Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah, he blows the Tekiah, and then he blows a trua. So again, you lose the first Tekiah, because what you blow? You blew a trua. What's a trua doing here? Ve'in chilik b'chol zeh, and in these cases there's no difference. Bein shegamar trua or shaloi gamar. It doesn't matter if when you blew this trua that doesn't belong here, if you finished it or it was only a partial trua. Since it's a foreign koil, it doesn't belong here. It's even a part of a trua, it doesn't belong here. You lose the whole series. B'chol inyan hifsed tekiah rishayna. In all cases, you lose the original tekiah. V'chein, and similarly, Masha Kasav, this that the Mechaber wrote, Oy Tarat, that the same halacha applies in the Seder of Tekiah Trua Tekiah, Ritzaynor Loimar, what he wants to say is, Shehischil B'Trua, the person, the Baal Tekeh, blew a Tekiah, and then he started blowing the Trua. Uve'emtza, and in middle of that Trua, Hifsik, he broke off the Trua, V'hischil Asay Shever Echad, and now he blew one blast of a shvarim. So again, he blew a blast of a shvarim, it's a foreign koil. You lose the trua, you lose the tekiah. V'akol kanal in tashat, the explanation is exactly the same as the one that we just gave for the series of Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah. For huadin linyan tarat, the kevan she'en zashayich klal l'trua shebeseder zeh, since this shvarim, this partial shvarim that you blew in middle of the trua of Tekiah Trua Tekiah has no business being here, when we blow tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, it's because we think that the shvarim is the trua of the Torah Kedosha. In that case, what are you doing blowing a trua? A real, what we call a trua. Doesn't belong here. It's a foreign koil. So hifsid gam tekiah rishayna. Okay. Now, just I should point out, this does not mean, let's say you're blowing, and you're blowing a tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, and the shvarim taka doesn't work out. Let's say you go like this. So I blew the first two blasts of the shvarim. I'll do pshutais so you can hear it better. So I blew two blasts of a shvarim, and then I got messed up. I blew some funny sounding thing. Over there, we don't say that that funny sounding thing was a foreign koil that doesn't belong here. That's very different than if you start blowing a trua. Over there, that's not a funny sounding koil that got in the middle of the shvarim. That's recognizable as a trua. And a trua is a foreign koil over here. So that would be a hefsek, and it would cost you the whole seder, including the first tekiah. Now we go to the top line of Samach Vav Amud Aleph, Sif Ches. Im hifsik betrua bein tekiah l'shvarim. Im hifsik betrua, if you interrupted your seder by blowing a trua in between the tekiah and the shvarim. What are we speaking about here? Let's take a look at Mishnah Berurah's Katan Lamid. Bein tekiah l'shvarim, hainu b'tashat. You're holding a tekiah, shvarim, tekiah. So you blew a tekiah, and then you're supposed to blow a shvarim, and instead you blew a trua. Hichnis trua kaidim shvarim. You put it a trua before the shvarim. V'hu hadin, and the same halacha would apply. Im ichnisa yachar shvarim. If you're holding a tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, and you blow a tekiah, and then you blow a perfect shvarim, and then you blow a trua. Va'afilu im loy gamar ha-trua v'chanal. And even if you don't finish off the trua, in all of these cases, what does the mechaber say? Let's go back up to the mechaber. Im hifsik b'trua bei tekiah l'shvarim. If you inserted a trua between the tekiah of tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, and the shvarim, or like the Mishnah Berurah said, if you put the trua after the shvarim in tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, continues the mechaber, ay shehifsik b'shvarim, or you inserted a shvarim bein trua l'tekiah, you're holding in tekiah, trua, tekiah, and you put a shvarim between the trua and the second tekiah. V'chein, and similarly, im heiriya shtei trua zu achar zu. Let's say you're holding a tekiah, trua, tekiah, and you blow two truas. Ay shetaka achar hatrua tekiah kimisasik shaloi l'shem tekiah. Or let's say you blew a tekiah, and then you blew a trua, and now you're supposed to blow a tekiah, and you do blow a tekiah. But the second tekiah that you blow, you didn't blow l'shem mitzvah. Somebody walked over to you and said, oh, could you show me how to blow a tekiah? And you say, sure, watch this. And you blow a tekiah, and you didn't have in mind at all that you're doing it l'shem mitzvah. The hifsik bein trua l'tekiah. So now that tekiah formed a hefsik, an interruption between the trua and the tekiah that you blew l'shem mitzvah. Or la'achar shetaka shloisha shvarim. Maybe you blew the three blasts of a shvarim, and then shasak, and then you were quiet, v'hifsik, and you were masik, v'achar kak taka shvarim acherim, and then you blew another shvarim, v'afilu shever echad, or even one shever. B'chol elu have a hefsik. All of these are a hefsik. V'hifsid gam tekiah rishayna. In all of these cases, you lose even the first tekiah. So let's see the Mishnah Berurah here. Oiskat Lamed. Bein tekiah l'shvarim. The mechaber started off Sif Ches with a case where you blew a trua between the tekiah and the shvarim. Hainu b'tashat. This is in the series of tekiah, shvarim, tekiah. You blew the tekiah, and then you blew a trua. You're supposed to blow a shvarim, you blew a trua. Hichnis trua kaidim shvarim. You inserted a trua before the shvarim. V'hu adin, and the same halacha would apply if you inserted the trua after the shvarim of tekiah shvarim tekiah. Va'afilu im loy gamar trua, and even if it's not a complete trua, only a partial trua, v'chanal. V'chein, and similarly, betashrat. Let's say you were blowing tekiah shvarim trua tekiah. Im osa trua kaidam shvarim. You blew a tekiah, and then the makri said shvarim trua, and you blew a trua instead of blowing a shvarim. Hifsid bazeh gam tekiah rishayna. You lose even the first tekiah. Now that's an interesting case. And like the Chavetz Chaim says, v'yesh me'achronim. This last case that the Chavetz Chaim just said, there are achronim shemekilin b'tashrat, who are mekel in that last case. If you are supposed to blow a tekiah shvarim trua tekiah, and you blow the tekiah, and then you blow the trua, then there are those achronim that say that that's not a hefsek. Why? Because of what we learned at the beginning of the shir. The trua actually belongs in that set, just you put it in the wrong place. L'svir lahu, these achronim hold the kevan trua shaycha b'zeh seder. Since the trua does have a place in this seder, it's not a foreign koil. Ela she'igdima, just you made it early, you put it before the shvarim. Ain't tzarich lachzar l'tekiah rishayna. You don't lose the original tekiah. Ela goymer shvarim trua kedarko tamid v'daya. You could rather just continue and blow a shvarim trua, and that would be good. Ois katan lamed aleph, or the mechaber said, let's say you put a shvarim between the trua and the tekiah. What does that mean? Ois katan lamed aleph. Hainu gam kein bitarat. Let's say you were holding a tekiah trua tekiah. So you blew a tekiah, then you blew a trua, and now hichnis shvarim achar trua. After you blew the trua, you're supposed to blow a tekiah. You went ahead and you blew a shvarim. For hu adin, the same halacha would be true. In mechnisai kaidem trua. Let's say you're holding a tekiah trua tekiah, you blew a tekiah, and then you blew a shvarim. Ubechol zeh, in all of these cases, afilu loy gamar as shvarim. Even if you did not complete the foreign koil, it's a hefsek v'chanal. V'yesh b'kaimais. Now he says an interesting thing. He says there are some places shedarkon l'sayim b'soif trua b'koil aroich, that they make the last blast of the trua a long koil. So the last blast of the trua, the last blast was longer than the rest of them. Says the Mishnah Berurah, there are places that have that minig. V'ayin b'pri megadim, he says, take a look at the pri megadim. B'sif cotton bays, shemefakfek bazeh. He takes issue with that minig. Why? The ulai nechshav zel shvarim. Because maybe that last blast of the trua, which is lengthy, maybe that sounds like a shvarim. And now, if you're holding a tekiah trua tekiah, and you make the last blast of the trua long, maybe it sounds now like you started to insert a shvarim between the trua and the tekiah. And that would be a foreign koil. It would be a hefsek. It would cost you even the original tekiah. V'chein, and similarly, yesh mi balei tekiah. There are those balei tekiah she'ena mumchim b'melacha zu, that are not mumchim in tekiah shofar, u'gisha'osid trua, and when they blow a trua, maschilin by b'koil aroich, the first blast of the trua is long. V'nira haskalasai kein shvarim. Then the beginning of the trua sounds like a shvarim. Gamzel lav shaper ovdi. That would be like this. So the first blast of the trua was long. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be right away. It's supposed to be short blasts. Not that the first blast of the trua is longer than the others. If it is, it sounds like a shvarim. Ois cotton lamed beis. Another case that the mechaber gave was, he said, v'chein im heiriah shtei trua zuach hazu. If you blew two truas in a row, So you're blowing tekiah, trua, tekiah, and instead of blowing a tekiah, then a trua, then another tekiah, you blew a tekiah, and then a trua, and then another trua. Says the Mechaber, that's a hefsek, and you lose even the first tekiah. Says the Chavetz Chaim, you might think that that's strange, because why don't we say that the trua belongs in this seder? It's just an extra trua, but it's not a foreign koil. Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. Even though both of these truas belong here, because this is tekiah, trua, tekiah, nevertheless, once you blow one perfect trua, so once you complete a trua bekashrus, su hashniya have you hefsek. Now the second trua is just a hefsek. It's unnecessary, and it's a hefsek. V'dafka kishehifsek beineim. However, says the Chavetz Chaim, that's only true if you blow two truas. You blow one trua, then you're mafsik, and then you blow another trua. Der mason b'neshima achas. If you blow the two truas together without a pause between them, without a space between them long enough for a breath, havya kitrua arichta. So then it's only a long trua. It's not two truas. That we said is okay. You can have a long trua. Ois Kov Lamed Gimel. Or the Mechaber said, another case. You blew a tekiah, you blew a trua, and now you blew a tekiah like you're supposed to, but you didn't blow it l'shem mitzvah. You blew it lehislamed. You blew it for practice, or to show somebody how to blow. The Magen Avraham says you could be makel in this case. The misasek lechoshev tekiah klal, because he says misasek, it's not even considered a tekiah. You heard whatever. That's not called the coil of a shofar. Blowing b'misasek is just the sound of a musical instrument. So it's not a foreign coil of a shofar. The leichotchev hefsek al yidei zeh, the Magen Avraham says that would not be a hefsek. Then the Mechaber said, his case was, it's 3 lines down in the Mechaber, if you blew 3 blasts of a shvarim, the Mechaber said, then shosak, you were quiet, v'hifsik, and you had a pause, and now you blew another shever. Says the Mishnah Berurah's cut lamadalit, shosak v'hifsik. Hainu shahaya b'shtei nishimas. What he means is you blew a shvarim, and then you had a pause long enough to take a breath, and then you blew another shvarim. That's a problem, the Mechaber said. But the imhaya b'nishima akas, says the Chavetz Chaim, if you would do it b'nishima akas, if you would blow 3 blasts of a shvarim, and then within the time it takes, in less time than it takes to take a breath, you would continue with more shvarims, next shav kachas, it would be 1 long shvarim. The kosher, that would be kosher. The harei yakal ha'isef kam shvarim, because we said in Sif Gimel, you could blow as many shvarim blasts as you want to make up a shvarim. Let's say he blew a tekiah, a shvarim, and then he started blowing the tekiah. But the tekiah is not working right. So he stops. And he starts to blow another tekiah. That's all called one tekiah, that's not a problem. In all of these cases of Sivches, the Mechaber said it's a hefsek, and you lose even the tekiah rishona. Aizkat Lamed Hey, says the Chavetz Chaim, tekiah rishona. V'im kvar taka gam tekiah achroina. Let's say you had one of these cases. You were supposed to blow a tekiah shvarm tekiah. You blew the tekiah, then you blew a trua, which didn't belong there. Then you blew a shvarim, then you blew a tekiah. What's the halacha now? You could use that last tekiah that you blew to be the first tekiah for the set that you're now supposed to repeat. So you were supposed to blow tekiah, shvarim, tekiah. You blew a tekiah, you blew a trua. Then you blew a shvarim, then you blew a tekiah. Then somebody who learned dirshu comes over to the Baal Tekeh and the Makri and says, no, this was no good. You blew a trua, you lose the whole set. So now you have to blow this set over again. So says the Chavetz Chaim, if he already blew the next tekiah, if he already blew the last tekiah, So again, he blew tekiah, trua, shvarim, tekiah. Now the guy came up and corrected. That last tekiah that he blew, he doesn't have to blow over again. He could use that last tekiah for the first tekiah of the replacement set. And he could just go straight to the shvarim. Let's say nobody realizes the mistake until the next seder. Kigoin, for example, Shaimed betashat. You're holding a tekiah shvarim tekiah. V'niskar sheta betashrat. And now somebody comes and says, when we were holding back in tekiah shvarim trua tekiah, we made a mistake back there. Goimer kala siman. Finish the siman that you're in. And then go back the tekiah tashrat pamacheres and do the tekiah shvarim trua tekiah over again. Even though now it comes out, in other words, let's say you did like this. You blew tekiah shvarim trua tekiah, tekiah shvarim trua tekiah, tekiah trua shvarim tekiah. So in the last three of the tekiah shvarim trua tekiah set, you messed up. Nobody realized. Now you already went on tekiah shvarim tekiah. You blew tekiah shvarim tekiah. Now somebody comes and says, hey, we messed up on the last three of the tekiah shvarim trua tekiah. Says the Chavetz Chaim, finish all three tekiah shvarim tekiyahs, then go back to the tekiah shvarim trua tekiah. Now you might look at it and say, but all these tekiah shvarim tekiyahs were a hefsek in the tekiah shvarim trua tekiyahs. Ein bekach klom, says the Chavetz Chaim. The only time a foreign coil is a problem is in middle of a set of three, or by tekiah shvarim trua tekiah in a set of four. That's when a hefsek is a problem. You should know further. These mistakes you have to go back, even if they happen in the tekiyas before Musaf, in the tekiyas to Miyushiv. For Loi Noimar, we don't say, now we don't have to correct them. We're blowing another 30 kailis by the tekiyas to Mu'umid. We don't have to make corrections in the tekiyas to Miyushiv. No. The Kevin Sheberach Alelu, since we do make a bracha on the tekiyas to Miyushiv, Tzarech La'asais and Kahagen, they have to be done properly. V'gam b'tekiyas to Mu'umid Tzarech La'asar. And by the tekiyas to Mu'umid, you also have to correct any mistakes. The Heim Iker, because those are the main shofar sounds. Because those are the ones that you're blowing on the Seder of Malchiyas, Zacharaynis, and Shofars. Aval, however, im Taba tekiyah sha'achar atfilah, if you make a mistake in those final shofar sounds at the end of davening after Chazar Hashatz, ein bekach klum, over there the Chavetz Chaim says you don't really have to correct. Okay, let's try to make it through to the end of the Siman. Sif Tes. Im takash shnei tashrat. If you blew two sets of tekiah shvarim trua tekiah, or shnei tashat, or you blew two sets of tekiah shvarim tekiah, or shnei tarat, or two sets of tekiah trua tekiah. Kahoigen, you did them properly. V'tar bashlishi, but in the third set of either tekiah shvarim trua tekiah, or tekiah shvarim tekiah, or tekiah trua tekiah, you messed up. Ein tzarech lachzor elalach reichatabai. You don't have to go back and start again all the way from the beginning of the tekiah shvarim trua tekiyas. It's only the set of three that you have to fix up. Continues the mechaber. Im taka b'tzad harachav shel hashofar. If you blow in the wide end of the shofar instead of the narrow end of the shofar, lo yatsa, you're not yotza. Says the Mishnah Berurah, ois cotton limud vav. Lo yatsa, you're not yotza if you blow in this side of the shofar. Why? And we had this halacha earlier. The ksiv, because it says in the pasuk, v'ha'avarta shofar trua. You should let pass a shofar blast of a trua. The kibul chazal, and the chazal have a mesorah to write a limud that what the pasuk wants to say is derech ha'avarasai. You have to blow the shofar in the manner that the animal passes by with the shofar, the way the animal carries it on his head. And contrary to popular belief, The narrow end of the shofar is the part that's attached to the shofar, to the ram's head, not the wide end. So you have to blow from the narrow end. Kaloimar, b'derech temunas giduloi, in the manner in which it blows. Shaha'ayil ma'aviroi mechayim, the way the ram carries it during his lifetime, b'roisha, on his head, kach tzarech l'skoyabai, that's the way you have to blow in it. Tahainu b'makam ha'kotzer, which means in the narrow side. He brings this down from the Chayodim in the name of the Rana and the Ritva. And finally, the Chavetz Chaim says, v'gam remez l'davar, and we have a remez to this in the pasuk as well, min ha'meitzar karosi ka, that we cried out to Hashem from the meitzar, from confinement. So we cry out to Hashem from the narrow side. Says the Ramah, Haggah, v'achar shetaku, after we blow shofar, Aimer Ashliach Tzibur Pasuk Ashriya Am Yodei Serua, the Baltikeh usually says the Pasuk Ashriya Am Yodei Serua, Hashem Bar Panecha Yahalechon, V'Ashrei and Ashrei Yeshvei V'Secha, U'Machzir and HaSefer L'Menkaimai, and then you return the Sefer Torah to its place. Okay, that concludes Siman Tavkuf Tzadik, a very fascinating Siman, especially for those of us like Shlomo Zalman and myself. Yes, Hashem. Tomorrow we'll pick up with Siman Tavkuf Tzadik Aleph. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. Schus of limud HaTorah should be making on Gans Klal Yisrael. Berurah should send Yeshua's refuahs and parnasa to all those in need, and we should be zeicher to see the Bias Gal Tzedek from here of Yameinu. Amen. Be well.